Good afternoon, my friends. Welcome to what I like to call Thriving Thursday. You will find me, your favorite Lyme educator and coach, over in my holistic healing group this evening, actually, later on today, talking about this very subject um, on one of our weekly trainings that I call Thriving Thursday. But I thought today, a day I don't normally go live like publicly here, I thought I would because of this specific topic. Um, and what I'm going to invite you to do is join us over in Limey and Crunchy. I've already linked it in the description to hear even more tonight about this topic if it's of interest to you. And that is the topic of Lyme Brain. What is it and how do we conquer it? If you are a Limey warrior or you know someone that is, you probably are very familiar with Lyme brain. It's kind of like mom brain or pregnancy brain, except it's actually a real thing in the sense that it stems from this disease process related to Lyme disease or other tick-borne illnesses and co-infections that come with Lyme. So, let me just start by saying my disclaimer is I'm not here as a medical professional to treat, cure, or diagnose. I'm here to provide you information so you can go forward empowered to work with your provider for the best treatment plan or options for you. Okay. Do your own education, work with a trusted provider, but use this as a tool to move forward in healing if you need to. Okay. So, also, by the way, if you're catching this on YouTube, I told you I'm off my game, Lyme Brain, right? I'm off my game because I don't usually do this live across all my social media. But if you're catching this on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss any further content. And like I said, you're going to want to get in to Limey and Crunchy to hear the full gamut of this topic there. Okay. So, what exactly is Lyme Brain? Well, I can tell you what it feels like because if you don't know this already, I'm a Lyme warrior myself who has worked hard on her healing journey over many, many years. And I'm here to make it easier and less time consuming and even cheaper for you guys if I can. That's the goal. But my journey involved a lot of neuro Lyme, if you will, specifically Lyme brain. I remember having periods when I was at my sickest in my teens and even into my early 20s. I remember having periods of complete forgetfulness, complete zoning out. I remember having friends like have to get my attention even in the middle of doing stuff. I remember um, being completely unable to focus and simple tasks that used my brain, like even simple school tasks or um, phone calls that, I had to pay attention to, conversations that I had to pay attention to mentally. Those types of things would zap my entire energy for like the day. Like they would put me out in terms of like I would have to, go rest and recover from mental tasks, simple ones. It can be normal that mental tasks can be exhausting. I'm talking about just simple day-to-day stuff. Um, I couldn't be trusted. I felt like I couldn't trust my brain to keep track of things, to follow even a list, or to remember what came next or what I was supposed to do in a series of things or a series of events. Um, and I remember it was really scary. And these are just some of the symptoms that I personally experienced. I could go on. There's actually when I stop and think about it, there's a whole gamut of symptoms of this Lyme brain. I remember describing it as brain fog or like fuzziness to my mental capacity that I didn't like, and it wasn't normal for me. These are just some of the symptoms that can be Lyme brain. And let me clarify what I'm talking about today is a subset of neurological Lyme disease. It's a piece of that. I'm not here today to talk about all of neurological Lyme because that's an even bigger beast. I have talked about it a little bit before, and I do talk about it in my group, so make sure you're there so you don't miss that. But this is like a piece of neurological Lyme, okay? And it involves a variety of things. Let me just reference my notes to not miss some of it. But it's basically neurocognitive dysfunction, neurological brain thinking and reasoning dysfunction outside your ordinary for you, what outside your normal limits. So, difficulty with memory, difficulty processing information, difficulty focusing, concentrating. Can even manifest as like word finding difficulty, or expression, difficulty expressing things. It can even manifest in mental health dysfunction. Think like anxiety, depression, all kinds of mental health disorders can come from Lyme and tick-borne illnesses too, and can contribute to this cycle of neurological dysfunction and Lyme brain. Um, so black holes in my memory is what I call them, are some of how my Lyme brain from the past, even still now, impacts me. Interestingly, my Lyme brain, I would say, is pretty much gone. I don't really notice symptoms of it anymore, which is awesome. I joke about it like I did in this video, forgetfulness. But I do feel like I'm within normal limits now for, normal life stuff. And just, you know, the day to day of life. I could definitely tell a difference between Lyme brain and where I'm at now in a healed state. However, I still do have these like black holes and these fuzzy memories of my life that are very unclear or just missing altogether. There are periods of my teen and young adult years when I was my sickest that I don't even remember. And when people ask me about my Lyme treatment and my healing journey back then, I have to look up a lot of stuff or skip over some things that I've forgotten. Um, and that's a really frustrating piece of my journey, but it's the reality of Lyme brain and what comes with the territory of Lyme disease for some of us, at least. For a lot of us, a lot of people with Lyme disease, especially ongoing and more chronic Lyme that's been left untreated, will especially be inclined to experience these types of symptoms. But it doesn't discriminate if you have Lyme or tick-borne illnesses or have had a tick bite and have any of these symptoms. You might be dealing with neuro Lyme to a degree. So why? What are we talking about? Oh, and by the way, before I move on to why, just know that co-infections, like I mentioned before, can contribute, such as Bartonella and Babesia. Um, they can cause things like wacky dreams and weird sleep patterns mentally, and even more extreme emotional swings and rage, in the case of Bartonella specifically with that one. So just know that when I say Lyme, I'm kind of meaning any tick-borne illness in this case, because if you have Lyme, you might have other co-infections too that you're dealing with. And at the end of the day, it doesn't necessarily matter except in the face of treatment, but let's talk about why. Okay, here's why it matters but doesn't. Because the Lyme spirochetes and some of these other co-infections can cross the blood-brain barrier and invade our neurological symptoms, we can be exposed to this possibility neurologically of brain fog, neuro-Lyme, borreliosis, is the scientific term. Too hard to say. Neuro-Lyme or Lyme brain, okay? The spirochetes and the infectious process can wreak havoc on our neurological system. It can damage the nerve cells. It's a complicated process sometimes, but not always. It can cause damage and death of nerve cells. It can trigger inflammation, widespread neurological inflammation, which is basically swelling and irritation to your nervous system. It can release neurotoxins, toxic products, in your neurological system, and it can disrupt the balance of your brain chemicals and your neurotransmitters and all the things that keep you functioning healthy, from a lot of different perspectives, but emotional perspectives also included, which is why I lumped that in here a little bit, and why your emotional centers can be impacted. So what do we do about this? We treat the problem first and foremost. Getting really good Lyme and co-infection treatment from a specialist that can kind of understand what might be impacting your brain is important. Antibiotics are very effective for some people. IV and oral both can be effective. IV for some are even more effective, just because of bypassing the need to digest antibiotics in the gut. But they come with their own set of risks too. I will say for myself, antibiotics have been very useful on my healing journey. And I have been able to do gut healing and avoiding side effects along the way because of really good care from my Lyme provider. So it is not impossible to utilize antibiotics and still come out on the other side healthy. I've actually experienced more gut healing while on antibiotics than I did off of them, like previously to taking them. So let me just say, antibiotics are not necessarily the end of the world for people that they are effective in. Herbals are also a possibility. Okay. So, what kind of herbals? Sorry, bug bite issue down here. What kind of herbals are effective? For a lot of people and a lot of Lyme providers, you will see treatment with cat's claw. Also, andrographis, Japanese knotweed. Those are some of the top ones that are effective for treatment, and also potentially, I know for sure, cat's claw um, is believed to cross the blood-brain barrier as well to help with neurological treatment. So you've got some herbal options. But what else can you do besides treat? Because I think no matter what, and this is what I teach in my group and as a coach and educator, no matter what, treatment is never the only answer to healing. It can be a big factor for people. It was a huge factor for me. I don't believe I would have the healing I have now without actual solid treatment of my tick-borne illnesses. But there are other holistic, as in whole person, whole being, um, modalities that can also contribute to better healing, further healing, more sustainable healing, and more effective healing overall. So, let me get into what some of that could look like in terms of Lyme brain specifically. What else can we do besides treat alone or just treatment? You can utilize supplements as well to help enhance treatment, to also help boost your body's ability to fight back and to heal the brain. Because if we're talking about widespread inflammation and toxicity, essentially, that's a lot on your neurological system to overcome. This can take time. Um, this can be a long-term investment in your health. Let me put it that way. Healing the neurological system in general, Lyme or no Lyme, can be an ongoing process. I'm a neuroscience nurse by trade. That's where most of my nursing experience is. And so I've seen what brain and nerve and neurological system healing can look like, and it can take a long time. So understand that chipping away at it is important. So what can we do besides treatment, herbally, antibiotics, whatever? Treatment is one thing, supplements are another that can enhance treatment. High dose vitamin C, vitamin B. Make sure you know your MTHFR status and your methylation status with B vitamins, though, okay, especially, but they can be helpful in repairing nervous system stuff and helping to detoxify as you're healing and as you are treating. You want to get rid of the junk too as you go. Vitamin D for some can be very effective. Glutathione and or NAC, N-acetylcysteine, which is a precursor to glutathione, that is necessary for cellular detox and very effective in helping treat Lyme brain and neurological stuff with Lyme. Curcumin is a great supplement for a lot of different Lyme symptoms, including inflammation in general. That's a really good supplement for all kinds of inflammation. So don't underestimate its effectiveness potentially for healing neurological Lyme. Adaptogens also can be great in conjunction with treatment. Adaptogens are plants that help us adapt, help our body adapt, and often are very neuroprotective. In other words, protect our neurological system and help with healing. Two great ones for Lyme and brain healing are lion's mane mushroom, other mushrooms as well, cordyceps reishi. They can be great too, but lion's mane is kind of like the gold standard mushroom for like brain healing stuff that you hear about the most, but others are effective too. And ashwagandha, you may have heard of that before too, as an herbal, but it can be really helpful with treating Lyme brain and neurological Lyme too. Okay, it's also an adaptogen. All right, what else can we do? We can do bacopa. If you haven't heard of that, it's from India. It's an herbal, and it can help calm the nervous system. Um, and it can be really good for brain healing stuff. Ginkgo biloba, another great herbal that's neuroprotective, can support healthy cognition. The trace mineral molybdenum. It's great to know your trace mineral status because we all need good quality minerals to heal. and to stay healthy. But molybdenum in particular, you may not even, you're like, what is that? Maybe you haven't even heard of it. It's a trace mineral that we need. We don't need tons of it, but we need it for healing. And it's sometimes especially helpful in detoxing the brain and healing the brain. It can also help with cognition for some people. So just a little tidbit for a supplement for you, um, at least to consider. Remember, we're not treating, curing, or diagnosing, but these are some thoughts for you to consider. What else can you do beyond supplementing and treating? Consider what you're eating. Our health starts with our foods. All right. We have the options for dietary changes, and we also have some alternative medicine options that we can consider too, outside of traditional treatments that we can use in conjunction or alone to help with brain healing. You want to hear more about what those include and what dietary changes might look like? Hop on our Thriving Thursday call tonight in Limey and Crunchy. Okay. I'm going to share all the rest of that talk tonight and even more about Lyme Brain and healing it. So grab the link, hop in the event tonight. It's 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and there will be the replay available to you as well. All right. I'll see you over there. In the meantime, here's to healing. I'm voting all of your healing victories.